Shalom. I want to tell you a story about something that happened here at the Kotel. Here we are at the Kotel about 54 years ago from when 53 years ago from when I'm recording this video. In 1967, at the end of in the middle, I should say, of the Six-Day War, paratroopers from the Israeli army came into Yerushalayim for the first time in 19 years. This was a big joy. They didn't know that there was going to be a war. They didn't know that they were going to be so successful that they'd be able to go to Yerushalayim and conquer Yerushalayim and unite all of Yerushalayim together. And until that point, Jews were not allowed to go and daven at the Kotel. They weren't allowed to pray here at the Kotel. So it was a very big, joyous occasion. And many of the soldiers came up to the Kotel for the first time, and they started touching the wall of the Kotel, and they started praying at the Kotel. And a famous rabbi, who was the rabbi of the army, his name was Rabbi Shlomo Gorin, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha, came and blew shofar at the Kotel and said, Har Habayit Biyadenu. And they had special tefillot. Now, not all of the soldiers understood or were religious enough to know how to daven. Some of them grew up in homes where they didn't know how to daven, and they didn't know how to. Now, they spoke Hebrew because they were Israeli, and the army spoke Hebrew, but they didn't know how to daven. So some of the soldiers were praying so hard. They were davening so hard, and some were saying Tehillim, and some were just thanking Hashem with their own words. Some were so taken and they were so emotional that they were crying. What a powerful moment for them. The first time at the Kotel, and they were the first Jews in 19 years to be able to go to the Kotel, and they were the soldiers that would forever be remembered as the heroes who won the battle to take back Yerushalayim and the Kotel for the Jewish people. And they were so emotional, they were crying. Well, there was a group of soldiers who had fought together. They didn't live in the same place. They didn't really see each other when they weren't together in the army. But when soldiers fight together in the army, they become like brothers. They become so close. And three of these soldiers were standing up against the Kotel, and they were crying. They weren't crying because they were in pain. They weren't crying because they were sad. They were crying because they were so happy. And these were very religious soldiers. They had studied Torah and yeshiva. They knew what Yerushalayim was all about, and they knew how powerful this moment was. And because of it, they were crying. And they took off their helmets, and they had their kippahs on, and they took out their tzitzis, and they were davening and praying and thanking Hashem. And their friend, who was not religious, who didn't know how to daven, his parents didn't teach him about the Torah or any mitzvot at all. But he was standing up against the Kotel, and he was crying also. And his friends at a certain point turned and looked at him, and they said, "It's so strange. We know why we're crying. We learned all about Yerushalayim. We know how special this is." But they turned to him, they said, "But your parents didn't teach you to be religious. They didn't teach you the beauty of the mitzvot and the beauty of the Torah. They told you that you should do whatever you want, and you don't have to follow the Torah, and you don't know the Torah." So they turned to him and they said, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "I have to tell you the truth." And as he told them this, he was crying. And he said to them, "Let me tell you, I'm crying because I don't know why I should cry. I feel so sad that I don't know about how special Yerushalayim really is. That's why I am crying. You're crying because you know how special this place is. I'm crying because I don't know how special it is." And that's why it's so important that all of us understand just how special Yerushalayim is, just how unique and how much of a gift it is from Hashem to have Yerushalayim and to be able to go to the Kotel and daven. And one day, Behind this wall, we're going to build a Beit HaMikdash. And Yerushalayim is going to be b'nuyah. It's going to be rebuilt. And as beautiful and as special as it is to be in Yerushalayim now, it's going to be even more special then. I can't wait. Shalom.